Okay, good morning, everybody. Today we're going to be discussing how to set up the retention policies and how to manage the data governance dashboard. During this topics, we're going to be discussing the definition of our retention policies, the types of the retention policies, and the data governance dashboard, how to interact with it, how to function with it. At this point, I will be going ahead and showing you the environment so we can further proceed. Now, the following, as mentioned, are only visible directly through the FileCloud admin portal. In order to set up a policy, one must go into Governance, Dashboard, Retention. Now, in regards to retention policies, let's talk a little bit about exactly what they are, right? So, a retention policy is a name that can apply to any of the following types of policies, right? An admin hold, a legal hold, archival hold, retention hold, and trash hold. So their main or their core function is to block specific actions in the following folders or specify what happens when the policy expires, right? We're going to be looking into them one by one and then later on proceed with an example. So right now we're proceeding on creating a new one, and within it, to create a new one, you pretty much just click on Add Policy. This name can be any name. And let's define the types of retention policy. So retention. Retention allows an organization to identify specific content that is required to be stored for a specific period of time. Before it can be accessed during the retention period, the content cannot be deleted or archived. So what does this mean, right? This means pretty much that whatever path I have here, which can be a team folder, and the name of the folder, to give you an idea on how that path mostly looks like, you can come into the team folder section. I can select FileCloud webinar folder, for example, set this path. Then if I go into my retention policies and I want to create a retention policy in this folder, pretty much when I'm being asked to add the path, that's how the path should be, right? So at this point, I'm going to enable the policy, right? If marked enable determines that the new file or any folder met any policy conditions, we'll have the policy assigned. If enabled, the policy is assigned to the following folder. If not enabled, the policy is not assigned. So pretty much just turning it on or off, right? Now, do you want to be alerted on violations? This assists you to get notifications on the dashboard that we'll be seeing soon, which you can enable as a good practice or send an email alert if this policy is violated, right? And the alert can be maybe to myself. And maybe also to management, right? As well, once I set up this up, I can say, okay, I want this data to be retained, meaning that no changes can be applied to them for maybe 30 days. Now, this time can be modified as per your most convenient time. Let's say maybe you're looking to meet a certain compliance that requires for data to be there for maybe more than 30 days, maybe 2 years, or maybe a custom number of days, like 500 days, right? And upon expiration, you can decide what should happen, right? This allows you to provide any special instructions to use of the content after the policy has expired. So you can either permanently delete it or have no action on it. That's either or, right? Once you have it completed, simply just click on save, and that will save the policy for you. Now, that's for retention, right? Now, archival hold moves and stores files in specific directories. This policy cannot be modified or removed once set by the admin, right? Now, legal hold locks digital content to aid discovery or legal challenges. This policy can be removed by the admin. And trust retention allows administrators to control who can permanently delete files off the system where they cannot be recovered. And the admin hold suspends any actions to the files due to other retention policies that might affect them. So at this point, we're going to go through the whole workflow. We're going to be creating one retention policy. Before we actually do that, I have here one of the support documentation where I'm going to be sharing it with you right now on our chat as well, so that you have access to this documentation as we're going over it. In case you have any pending questions, you can easily review it on this documentation. Now, let's discuss a little bit the differences, right? So, admin hold does not block reads, but it will block people from moving, copying, updating, or deleting the content. Legal hold applies the same as the admin hold, as you can see. However, admin hold is indefinite and legal hold has a fixed date, or it can be indefinite, right? The main difference is that one has the capability of setting a fixed date. Archival hold will block people from moving data and from deleting it, but they can still update and update that data. However, that data must remain on that fixed location. Retention will block people from moving and from deleting, and trust retention will also block people from moving and deleting, right? Certain actions apply, and they can differ, right? If you want to look a little bit more, we have a policy type documentation, which is a little bit more descriptive per se, and it gives you a simplistic overview of where does this apply, how can it be used, and it provides you more specifics. I have shared this documentation as well on our chat so that everybody can see it. Now, let's go ahead and let's create from scratch a new policy. I'm going to create, for example, a new folder. I'm going to give access to my user. Okay. And then let's give access to the user we're using for this webinar. By the way, creating a team folder and granting user access are topics that we have seen on multiple webinars. You can go on our website and check them out if you have any questions towards the actions done at this period in time. So now I'm going to go ahead and create a new policy. Let's call this call a retention policy to avoid any confusion. Okay. And sure, enable it. I'm going to add a path, and that path is going to be this path, which is my team folder, and folder A is the corresponding path. I'm going to set this for a custom number 1 day, you know, as it's only just for this purpose. Do I want to renew an expiration? Not really. And I click on save. Perfect. As you can see, my policy is added. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to log in into our normal user portal. I'm going to go ahead into my team folders. I got my retention folder. And within this one, let's go ahead and add a document. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at the rule. Okay. Okay, let's call this retention. Days, no action, and okay. Okay, so upon creating my retention rules will apply to files that I've added prior to creating it or to new files added, right? So now that I've created a couple of actions in here, we're going to go ahead and look into our dashboard. So as you can see, for example, if you go into collect documentation, fail deleting document, avoid deletion, that is due to our retention policy that was applied. Now, before we can go into dashboard, let me show you exactly which rules are applying here. Let's enable this rule. Sure. Let's change the expiration date to, there's no already expiring, did not auto renew. Okay. Okay. 30 days, that's fine. Let's use history here. Perfect. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So once our retention policy is applied and it syncs into the system right fully, the files that we've added or moved around are going to have the deficiency that won't be able to be deleted or moved. If we go into the dashboard, you're going to be able to see some of the actions that have violated such policy, right? For example, once the policy is fully applied and I try to delete a file, you're going to see the error that, hey, you're unable to delete this document because the retention policy is being applied to it. In such a case, right now we have 3 alerts. We can either acknowledge them or review all of them. Pretty much the dashboard will give you an idea of who has violated which policy, where was the location the policy was trying to be violated. For example, I can see somebody try to delete the Word document within documentation. If I keep on going, I can see somebody try to delete LibreOffice 64, for example, from it. You can do easy stuff as see your archived alerts in case you don't want to see them, or clear the dashboard by archiving them. A couple of extra things you can do is see some of the statics, or just simply look at the effective policies. Right, which policies are effective, which ones are really not effective. From the dashboard as well, you're going to have the capability to view the audit. That when you click on view audit, it will directly take you into retention. So that way you see who has violated the retention policy, or from where was the retention policy violated. Or you can simply add a policy by clicking add policy. Think about it as a system shortcut. Now, at this point, we've seen how our retention policy is created, how the scenario applies to them. We reviewed a little bit of the documentation, and as well, we overviewed the dashboard. At this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and open up 5 minutes for everybody to be able to ask their questions and towards the functionality. If they have any concerns on how should it function, what happens after the expiration date. Any question that you might have, please feel free to bring it up at this point in time. Okay, so for the first question we see here, for legal holds, I noticed that we apply it to a path. Is there any option for the system to search and apply holds based on search criteria? Okay, when we are talking about search, it really doesn't come into play with this specific use case scenario. Let's review this a little bit one more time. When we go into retention and legal hold, right, it will ask you for a path. However, when you mean is there a system option to search and apply based on the search criteria, the only possible way that that could be done, for example, would be based on the metadata, right? That we can have a smart classification rule that will identify data within that document, and based on the data that's within the document, it can classify it. For example, if you have a document which contains the name important within it, right? The document has our undisposable, to give you an idea, just a name in it. FOxCloud will be able to search with its index search, find that criteria, apply the metadata tag, and then add it to this criteria. Meaning that the legal hold will apply to that document. That means that the document will lock the digital content in place, right? It cannot be removed later on. So pretty much that's leveling FOxCloud's index search, metadata tags, content classification, and retention policy to meet your criteria. So we create a metadata tag, which then the content classification will automatically add to the file, doesn't matter where it really is located. And based on this tag, then the retention policy will apply. I'm not sure if that clarifies your concern. When we select the metadata tag, there is no need to add the path at all, because we're pretty much telling it, hey, look for documents that have the metadata tag, for example, social security number, and yes, that it's found. Then just click on add. Then what FileCloud will do is that it would search all documents that have this metadata tag added, and then we'll apply the retention policy of the legal hold to them. So there is really no need of specifying a path to it, as we're already adding the metadata tag. Yep. Okay, good questions. Anytime. Somebody else, or I don't know if, Eugene, you have any more questions that we gladly will answer for you? Okay, everybody. Well, as there are no more rising questions, what will follow is there's the next step to follow this. The quick start guide will be emailed at the end to all attendees, right? If you need help, feel free to contact our support team at support@coldlace.com or visit our documentation at getfilecloud.com/support docs. If you would like to set up any retention policies on your own FileCloud and need our assistance, please do let us know. We will gladly help you with our support team. Just send us an email at support@coldlace.com, or we can provide you any needed documentation or join any session with you to get you going. Thank you for assisting our webinar and have a great day.